Arteta! What a strike! What a screamer!
Zola! And a fantastic goal! Arsenal back in it!
And here's Limpar, lines it up, finds the net. Arsenal in front.
As we always say on the Arsenal Vision Post-Match Podcast, ignore the process and focus on the result. This is the Arsenal Vision Post-Match Podcast. My name is Elliot Smith. You can find me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. Look, I don't know about you people, you people, you know who you are, the ones who are like, process, how are we playing? As we've always said, it's the result that matters. We don't care how you get there. We don't care about the trajectory. We don't care about the process. Our brand is analyzing the result. Literally, our podcast is, if we won, we say yay for an hour, and if we lost, we say boo for an hour, and that is why you are here, for that kind of cutting-edge analysis, which is going to be great because we won in Greece, 3-1 no less, which means it's a perfect, flawless, unimpeachable performance, which we can have nothing negative to say about it. And I hope you're as excited for that as I am. Thank you so much for being here. By the way, we do love you. We did a 2-hour live stream pre-match that was a hell of a lot of fun. Clive was there, Tim was there, Paul was there briefly at first, and then again, Scott was there, Jessica Black was there, and it's on YouTube and you can watch it, and there's a lot of evergreen content there, stuff about things that aren't just related to the Olympiacos game. And we actually showed you how the Premier League table will look at the end of the season, so you don't want to miss that. Go check that out. Or go to Patreon, sign up for that, because you love us and we love you, and we just want to consecrate that love, or don't, doesn't matter. Anyway, that's all out of the way. Let's move on. Paul's on Twitter. Pause my pants, pause.
What do you mean, you people? Tropic Thunder reference.
Yeah, what do you mean? Yeah.
Me and Clive are offended.
By the you people? Believe me, when I'm not talking about you people, because you people believe like I do that process doesn't matter. Okay. I'm talking about the you people who care about process. Those people. Clive, it is a pleasure to have you aboard. Clive's on Twitter at ClivePFC. Hello.
Hello.
Enjoyed you on the live stream. You got a lot of love, as you always do, for your glasses, for your outfit, for your bookcase, for just all of it. All the stuff. People just love this stuff, the Clive stuff. They want to roll around.
I don't see the comments. You see them. I see your face laughing. So we don't see them, right? So
it's for the best.
As long as they're good.
Because that head gets any bigger, those glasses won't fit on it. So let's dive into this. And Paul, start with you because you've only got 30 minutes.
I do, yeah.
So look, this is a game we won and won well, and this tie is probably wrapped up, and that is brilliant. So I want to be able, all of my opening jokes are basically about, look, I already listened to the Arscast, and they had a bit of a moan, and people are having a bit of a moan, and I think there's going to be some backlash to that about, like, we won 3-1 away in Europe, and you're having a moan. Our whole thing has been, we're backing Arteta post-Chelsea because he's really done a great job, and the process has been good, regardless of some of the, let's call them accidents we've had in terms of results. I think there were things about the way that we arrived at this result that were unfortunate. And so we are going to have to get into them and why we keep doing that. But the start of the game, Paul, the start of the game was exactly what we wanted. It was kind of like the Burnley game all over again. Early dominance, not quite getting the goals we deserved, but eventually getting it. I think the question on everybody's lips, though, is still going to be the decision to go with Willian at left wide forward. So let's start there. Let's start with the lineup and his decision to pick Willian. I think a lot of people said, all right, Pepe didn't start against Burnley, but it's because he's wrapped in cotton wool for Europe. He's going to be unleashed against Olympiacos. Once again, he doesn't start. Do you have any sense, beyond this sort of ambiguous tactical solidity, for why Arteta has preferred Willian, even recognizing that he's had an uptick in his performances?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I mean, look, I find Pepe a much more exciting name to see on the lineup, but I've decided Willian is like, the Mr. Men. He's Mr. Ploddy. There can be an advantage to a guy who doesn't run around too fast, too crazy. He's kind of plodding along, always in the spot that you want him, you being Arteta, kind of in that half space. Giving that whole wing open to Tierney to run up and down. And he's just kind of like, his assists are funny because they're just passes. I mean, they're good passes. Sometimes they're very good passes, but I'm not sure they quite meet the category of assist in the sense that we normally mean that kind of visionary guy who spots the opportunity. But they're good, and I don't think we should take away from his crosses and his set-piece assists either. I mean, they're they're on the money and they're fairly reliable, and they give them to him for a reason. They must think off the training ground he's quite good at them. So there was the one he banged in for Luis the other day off a set piece, and I think the one that Gabriel murders for the second goal, it really sets up this tie for us, is aimed at Aubameyang, but it's still right on the money. It's still right where you'd want it to be. I think he's just good and solid. It's not just continuity. If you remember the Sheffield United game when he was good for 10 minutes and we were good for 10 minutes, he kind of drifted into these centre spots that linked the play, and the play might go from one side of the pitch to the other, and it'd be a good pass. But it's more that he moves to the right place at the right time, connects the dots. He's like an unexciting Emile Smith-Rowe, not as dynamic, but he's connecting the dots in a way that Pepe doesn't, isn't, won't. You don't bring Pepe on to do the same things as this guy. And Tim talks about the balance of having a more technical guy on one wing and a more attacking guy on the other wing. And that more attacking guy at the moment is Saka. But Saka is also actually broadening his game a little bit. So you're seeing him dropping into the 10 spot or a kind of a wide half space spot. So we now have 2-3 players who can help support the play and build through Odegaard, Saka, Willian. I definitely think we missed the boat a little bit when we think it's Pepe or Willian and pull our hair out, because they're just not trying to do the same things. And like you watch him in especially lately, and he just keeps popping up in those same spots and being a bridge, being a support, and keeping the play rolling, keeping the passes simple. And we've been good. Our best phases of play in recent times, in the last couple of games, he's been around. He's been playing them. Maybe not the end of the Burnley game, but the start of the Burnley game, he was around and doing good stuff for us. So I kind of get it. He's not super exciting. Yeah. But he's kind of useful and keeps popping up in the right places, jogging along.
He's that's part of it. Is just that I still see him walking around way too much. But I think we've leaned into a narrative, Clive, a little bit of he's there for linking and tactical security. Like we're talking about him like he's a Iwobi, who was an exceptional linking player, could dribble a guy, could link together, really strong in possession. Willian is basically a career 75% passer. He's not a midfielder that we're playing at left wide forward in the way that Iwobi sometimes look. He is a push and run winger who is, and I know I've said that a lot and some people push back on that. So maybe that's not.
We're not using him as one right now.
No, we're not. But what I'm saying is.
His career passing, don't you feel we're using him in a different way than, Clive can talk to this, but it just feels we've leaned into him being used in a very different way, especially when he's off the left. Sorry, Clive.
No, let me sort of describe how I see it, and maybe Arteta's leaning into this on certain days. I think he's leaning into this on days when he absolutely needs a result. The biggest moments for him. So if you think about football as almost like your interior and your exterior. So in the interior, he's using almost like a box, right, with 2 centre midfielders in Saka and Partey, and 2 attacking midfielders in Odegaard and Willian. So just imagine that box on the inside. Then on the outside, you've got Bellerin and Tierney, sort of, cuddling the whole team. And ahead of that, you've got, in wide spaces, you've got Aubameyang's almost like a free forward, and Saka up high. So Willian, Odegaard, Saka and Partey are your interior, right? So what you're saying is people are thinking, it's Pepe or Willian, and I said last night, it's not Pepe or Willian, it's Pepe or Saka, and it's Saka or Willian, because Saka can play that interior role as well. Smith-Rowe can play that interior role. So Smith-Rowe did it probably too wide in maybe Benfica the first game. He was probably too wide, didn't come in to make the double tens. But you can see what we're trying to do here now, particularly in away games, particularly in big games. A lot of security centrally. Don't have 1 10 but 2 10s. And Odegaard and Willian positions flip-flop a little bit. Odegaard drops in, comes to get it. Willian goes out when Tierney's back, comes in when Tierney presses. When Tierney presses all the way up the side, Aubameyang comes inside, becomes a goal threat. So there's natural movements and real movements, that are happening here. It's almost as though Pepe, unfortunately, is a victim of the system. He's a victim of Saka's rise on the right-hand side. And really, we're thinking, we want Pepe to play, which is quite right. But the way to get Pepe in this team, for me, is to get Saka on the left-hand side, back with Tierney in that partnership, and Pepe on the right-hand side, working with Bellerin. But that hasn't really worked. It's worked with Cedric, but it hasn't worked with Bellerin to this date. So you can see why the manager, maybe with his cautious nature, is just going with the partnerships that he knows and actually putting the players in that space. And I'm afraid Pepe is a victim of that structure he wants to put in place.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, right? Like, the way we describe him and what his role is supposed to be for Arsenal is interesting, because when I look at what he did at Chelsea, lots of key passes, lots of dribbles, lots of shot creating action, low pass completion percentage. Like, he was more Pepe than what we're describing as Willian. And I wonder, Clive, just real quick, is it maybe a little more simple? Like, we're doing a lot of calculus here to explain this selection. Could it be as simple as Arteta wants a righty on the left and a lefty on the right? Saka starts on the right. Pepe, now when he comes on, he had a couple games on the left, but mostly he's always been on the right. And look who we've had on the left under Arteta. Aubameyang, Smith Rowe, and Willian. Those are the guys he really seems to prefer there. So is it just a case of he wants guys that cut inside and let the fullback overlap, let Tierney overlap, let the wide forward take the defender away from the fullback and cut inside? I mean, he does seem to want these righties on the left and lefties on the right.
Yeah, I had a similar conversation with a friend called Josh online today. Exactly the same thing. So, is Smith Rowe really, if Smith Rowe was fit and firing, would he be playing quite easily and Willian would be sitting? So that's what happened. So it could be that. My personal opinion is I think Saka can do that role really well. He's done it already, and he can do it really well. And he's two-footed, so I don't see a danger there. And I think what Pepe's shown me, and even in this cameo, that he's becoming more and more secure on the ball, under pressure, decision-making, retaining it, keeping it. I've got to say, he just looked great. And I'm thinking, hold on.
His body language is great, isn't it? Because that's the one thing, like we've seen him get more minutes or less minutes and looked like he wasn't happy, that he was kind of lost. But even when he's only getting a few minutes, at least he looks like he's quite into it.
He looks part of the show, doesn't he, Paul? He doesn't look like he's crying himself to sleep. He looks like, you know what? I know I'm coming on here. Yeah. He's like, we all feel for him. We are looking at it, and I'm thinking maybe like he knows the plan for him. Do you know what I mean? He knows what's coming up. He knows what to do.
And he feels he's on a path. Arteta's telling him what he needs to do and telling him he's making progress in the right direction. So he thinks his days are coming.
Yeah, but that's what I see, and that's what I want to believe. And I really want to believe that. I don't want to believe there's one rule for one and another rule for another. And we haven't even mentioned Martinelli yet, who's also got a right foot off the left-hand side, by the way. So I don't want to believe. I don't want to believe that there's anything in this. I want to believe that the people that matter at Arsenal can see the steps that Pepe's made forward, and when he's on the pitch, we are a dangerous team.
Just to say, like, I want to be clear, right? Also, I think Pepe was fine. Willian was fine. I think he's been fine lately. You don't have to be bad to not be the one that people would prefer you play, right? Like, it's a question of danger. I mean, it was the same debate. I feel in a way this is starting to trend towards the Iwobi debate, where I would say, look, I see all the good things he's doing, but I want more threat in that position, and I still feel the same way about Willian. One thing that's interesting about data and stats, I know not everybody loves stats and data and advanced metrics. The funny thing is, guys, I actually think sometimes why advanced metrics are great is that they capture the eye test more than dumb stats, right? Because, for example, Willian leads the team, in all comps in assists, right? Would either of you guys say that reflects what you've watched this season, that Willian's our best creator? No, I don't.
Yes.
I don't think. Okay. No. Paul loves an argument. So now let me hit you with what the advanced metrics tell you. In expected assists per 90, he is behind Smith Rowe, Bukayo Saka, Kieran Tierney, Nicola Pepe, Hector Bellerin, Danny Ceballos, Cedric Suarez, and Martin Odegaard. that tracks more with what we've seen. Because when you loft a ball across the box and Gabriel goes T-1000 Terminator on it with his head and scores a world, like, yes, you get an assist for that.
And Gabriel gives Jan Villa the medical he always wanted at Arsenal.
Touche. Well, I love that. So Paul, well, let's move past the Willian debate, because it is one that I think we're all sort of a piece where the guy can be fine, but it still begs the question of why that selection is being made. And I think I'm starting to come around to the idea that it is purely left footer on the right footer on the left. Paul, we were dominant early, but one of the things that was happening early was Bukayo Saka was getting targeted. And this is starting to happen more and more. He's really announced himself, and now he's coming in for some rough treatment. And I think he's looking a little jaded. I don't think it was a great game from Saka, but at some level, this is the hard part as a 19-year-old. When you've arrived and other teams start treating you like you're the guy who has to be targeted. I thought that Olympiacos should have had more fouls. One of the things maybe you can wrap into your discussion here, too, of my open-ended question is I also felt, so who was it? Someone committed a foul and got a yellow card with their first foul for Arsenal. Who was it? It was, and it wasn't a great check. Was it Gabriel? It was Gabriel. Gabriel got a yellow card. Yeah. But look what happened. Yeah, that's right. He kind of goes through the guy, and the Olympiacos players are screaming and yelling and around the ref, and they get the yellow card. There's a part of me that thinks it is ugly and it is unpleasant, but Arsenal are going to have to start playing that game to protect our players, because they could have had 3 or 4 yellow cards for the treatment on Saka. So is that something that this kid now is just going to have to sort of ride his way through and learn to manage? Because I can't imagine it's a hell of a lot of fun for him right now.
Yeah, and the Burnley game was another example of that, where he was getting kicked a lot, but he was also kind of getting in his fouls himself. So maybe he's getting a bit frustrated and getting some, like he was hacking his corner pretty good. But he really came to life when we switched wings on him later in the game. So he had a different matchup. And I think that's just going to have to be a factor where it's becoming the case that if you stop Saka to some degree, you stop Arsenal, especially because Odegaard is on his wing too. So obviously if you can gum up Saka, you're effectively gumming up our more attacking side. So that's just a factor. That's the way it is. Is it any different at City with Mahrez or with Sterling, depending on the game they're playing and their matchups? One of those guys is going to get fairly heavily neutralized. Comes back to your point of, if Willian is Mr. Ploddy on the other side, where's the threat? It doesn't matter if they're double teaming Saka, if Pepe's on the other side and he's firing. So we'll have some tactical choices to make, but I think, look, Saka has arrived. Stop Saka and you stop Arsenal is how many teams will approach it, and he'll grow through it. I don't. Is he jaded? Is he tiring? I mean, I think he's just, instead of being brilliant, he's just very good at the moment, but he's also getting heavily marked by teams, and they're not just gumming up the side the right hand side to stop him. They're, with Odegaard over there, it's kind of drawing a lot of heat. So you're pretty safe overloading the defense on that side, and that we just got to use that as a strength, because if they're overloading one side, it means there's space on the other, and we got to get smarter using it. Yeah. But we'll evolve, and they'll have to. They'll get hurt on the other side. They'll have to take some move their defense a little bit away from Saka, and then he can hurt them from that side. But we'll evolve. He'll evolve. I don't think he's jaded. I don't think he's tired. He looks fine and dandy to me. But it's just the last game or two haven't been the ones where he's lit it up. Though I think he was really, really good at the end of the Burnley game. We just didn't get our rewards for it.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about that early period, Clive, is that the things that stand out to me are the rough treatment that Saka was getting, and then just the absolute dominance we had over Olympiacos for a period of a half hour. I mean, they were dreadful, and we were cutting them open. And it is an unfortunate reality right now that, much like the Burnley game, much like the Wolves game, even the Villa game at times, we still don't seem to have the end product in those periods of dominance. You're never going to dominate for 90 minutes. So you've got to make games 2-0 and 3-0 when you have those dominant periods. And And that's how, you avoid having those little accidents cause you a lot of problems. I think it could be one argument for why you need a guy like Pepe out there, just because you need a little more end product. But the interesting thing about having the right footer on the left, who was the dominant player for Arsenal in that first 30 minutes? For me, it's Kieran Tierney. And maybe if you have a left footer out there who wants to take it to the end line also and cross, then that doesn't let Tierney find that space to do it. And I thought Tierney was brilliant. He has the pullback to Odegaard that he really whiffs at. That period of dominance for me really highlighted Tierney's quality. And I think who would want to be a football analyst? Because at the same time, the player who I felt was a little out of sync with his teammates was Odegaard. And sure enough, he pops up with the opener. So did you see that sort of first half hour or so in the same way I did?
Clive called the Odegaard goal. I've just got to say, I was going to roundly mock you on the live stream, Clive. I'm like, there is no way. He didn't even get in the box. He didn't need to.
So there's partnership to that music. Granit Xhaka, who really still is the car driver of this team, he decides what happens down left-hand side, and he decides everything on that side of the pitch. He decides when he drops in to receive it. He decides when he drops into the middle three. And when he wants to push it out to Tierney, then Tierney's getting good service. There's no surprise that Pepe's best games were on the left-hand side when he's playing in that little triangle with Cedric and Xhaka. He's getting the ball as he likes it. He knows what he's got to do. He's the last man up top. I've got to do my thing up here. And so, everything happens through Xhaka, really. And he fires the ball to Tierney. And then when Tierney is so good at, he's just got different things he can do when he receives it. So said last night, when he stands still, he can start things off. He's not dead. He doesn't always go backwards. He can stop and start himself. He can free somebody, go past them. He can go past them on first phase run. When he stood up in front of them, he can then take it up to and dribble past them and cross. He can cross chip. He can cross low. He can cut back. He can shoot. He's actually a very good player. He's a very good player. And I noticed in the Burnley game, very similar. He started off really hot and then dialed back. Right, so did the same this game, started off hot, then dialed back. I'm wondering if we're playing him in phases to get territory, to get the opposition to go backwards a lot more. My worry is when he dials back, Willian dials back. Willian then sits and rests in front of him, and then I think we lose something. I think we lose touches, we lose people coming for the ball, we lose direction, and in both games we have flat periods. We had a flat period in the Burnley game. We had a flat period in the Olympiacos game. And I think we can't just keep running Tierney out. We just need something else, more penetration. And this is why I do feel we're now doing a great job on the pre-assist stuff. Really that's what he's doing, just keeping continuity, pre-assist, being available. As soon as you block him off, I think he rests. I think he rests in front of Tierney. Tierney doesn't go forward. We lose numbers on the pitch. Honestly, much more activity in that role, and a little bit more devil to turn around. I honestly feel, I agree with your point about a right footer there, and Smith Rowe does a decent job there as well, but I really feel Saka could really, really kill that side. And then you get back to the triangle of Saka, Aubameyang, Tierney. That's your money, right? Right there. That's your money, right there. For me, if I'm the manager or the coach, I'm getting them three boys together. And I can do it now, but I can trust Pepe to do his thing on the right-hand side. So we're not just one-sided. So, yeah, that's how I feel. It's just a matter of time. We can't play the same team every week. We got to give people different faces, but I want to see that on the pitch soon.
I got to give you credit because we don't always see football the same way. And, I try to learn from the way you see the game. Odegaard had a bad miss in a game a while back, sort of at the top of the box. The ball was rolled back to him, and he struck it over against Aston Villa. Yep. And he struck it over, and I was frustrated. And you said, I like that. I like the power in that shot. I like what I see there because I was worried, does he have the power to play this game, to play in this league? And I thought, does that show that, or does that just show that he's a missing son of a bitch? Well, shows what I know, because sure enough, he steps up and absolutely rips a hole in the back of the net, not literally, figuratively, against Olympiacos. It's a hell of a goal. And the only thing I'll say is, if that's our keeper, I would be livid. I mean, anytime the ball hits the back of the center of the net, you're not super happy with your keeper, but he absolutely strokes that as sweetly and as powerfully as he can. And Clive, credit to you because you called it on that Villa miss, and it shows up here.
I'll tell you, put a bulge in my old onion bag.
Desperately need that flashy thing from Men in Black, the Neuralizer. Does anybody have a Neuralizer? We need to be sponsored by Neuralizer. Although, no, we want Manscaped because we love them. And they are coming up. So, Paul, I thought, look, again, period of dominance. We missed some chances. Odegaard, who's not playing particularly well, looks a little out of sync, scores the opener. And then the warning signs are there. David Luiz tries to give them a goal that they miss. And so, undeterred, Leno and Ceballos subsequently conspire to give them the goal that they were looking for, which spurned us on to a 3-1 victory. So actually, it's quite clever. The first thing I want to get to before the accident, though, is the substitution. I thought Thomas Partey maybe looked a little unfit. I don't think he looked his absolute best. He's kind of giving the ball away a little bit, which he's been doing lately, trying to make harder passes. Now, here's the interesting thing, though. I still watch the guy, and the tempo with which he gets it and moves it on is so important. For Odegaard's goal, it's crazy to call it an assist with that strike, but here's the thing I want you to watch if you haven't seen this again. It's an interception. Do you see what Partey does in that goal? The first touch from the interception is a cushioned ball to Odegaard. He doesn't have to take it down, look around, touch, turn around, give it back to the center back. Great that he intercepts the ball, but he intercepts it, and in the same motion, that interception is a volleyed, cushioned pass to Odegaard to get that attack moving. I love that about his game, that tempo, and I think that urgency is why, even though it's not all coming off, we're able to keep teams pushed back and under the caution. And so again, not his best game, but for him to come off there that early, Arteta says it's purely tactical. Now, there's part of me that hopes, it's purely tactical, but it's tactical because he can't say, I had an eye towards the derby. I understand that a manager can't say that, but do you have a thought on that switch? Because, I realize it's Ceballos' error that gives them a goal, but seeing Partey come off after an hour, I have to admit, I was a bit worried.
Yeah, he says if it had been a one-word tactical switch, I'd be, maybe that's just code for I don't really want to talk too much about it. But he actually goes into some level of detail about wanting to change the shape and how we were playing inside. So that's a pretty elaborate ruse. I think he might have been a bit frustrated with Partey's game.
Yeah.
I think Partey has struggled a little bit the last two outings now.
He hasn't been secure. He's still doing some good Partey stuff, but he's not secure with it.
Yeah. And he's just not full force. I don't think he's anywhere near full fitness for whatever reasons. Maybe he's carrying an injury. Maybe this is one of the things Arteta referred to when he said about, basically players toughing it out for the rest of the season, that we were going to have to play through injuries and fatigue and stuff. And obviously some injuries, some fatigue you don't play through, but a lot of it, he doesn't want to get in people's heads that we're tired and we're beaten up and it's been a tough season or whatever. He wants them to, if you like, man up and go for it. Now, who knows who or what he's referring to? And I kind of got off the Partey trail a little bit here, but Partey doesn't seem to me remotely near 100%. He feels like an 85%, or he's probably a lot closer to 100 than that, but he might need a game or two. On the other hand, I can't see him not starting against Spurs. So it may be one of those, this guy needs a do-over. I keep him fresh for next weekend, but I don't think he liked how we were playing right then, and he wanted to freshen it up, speed it up. Ironically, Danny is part of this group, but I don't think he blamed Danny particularly on that, because he talked about it not being about decision making, it was about choosing when we play from the back. Well, the when was chosen by Bernd Leno, so I don't know that he blamed Danny on this. But that's a whole other topic. So I'm looking at it he does, Danny can do better, but Leno does really drop him in with the pace of that ball. I know there's nobody around Danny when Leno passes it to him, but when the ball arrives at him, There's one right on him and one right behind him. And
that's the problem.
Santi Cazorla would have danced around that, but not everybody's Santi Cazorla.
You know the problem, in my view, Paul, is that he gives it to him on his right foot, which is fine. Yeah. He can see the pressure on his right. He can't see the pressure coming off his left shoulder. And so I think he feels, I'm going to take this touch off to my left to pull away from the pressure on my right. The guy who comes in from behind him on the left takes it right off his foot with the first touch. The reason I don't love this pass from Leno also is, and again, I know
he has options.
He has options, but also he's 20 yards out of his own net, and it's a little difference playing a wall pass to Saka, a 3-yard wall pass to Saka in your own area at the weekend against Burnley. And again, not a great decision there, but he's 20 yards out. He's playing it, in the center of the pitch under pressure. He can see the whole pitch and he has room and time. I think it's just,
I was okay with the
unnecessary
Xhaka
danger.
one. I thought that was perfectly fine. We just executed badly. The good news is, look, the reason you do this is to draw the opponent on, to make them believe they have a chance of getting the ball. God, Spurs are going to be absolutely convinced they can kill us.
Yeah, that's what it is. We're playing possum. We're going to make Spurs press and then just play our way around them. Paul, do I have to let you go here?
You do. Oh shit, I better go.
Okay, Paul's on Twitter, Pause My Pants. Thanks, Pause.
Woohoo!
Okay, Clive, so as far as the error goes, I don't think it is like the most tantalizing podcast content to just sit here and say, is it Leno's fault or Ceballos' fault or both of their fault? Or I think the more interesting conversation is, why are we doing this? Why is Luiz giving it away? Why is Ceballos and Leno conspiring to give it away? 2 minutes after that, Xhaka's caught on the touchline. He luckily nutmegs a guy, which, again, that could have been a turnover. And then he gives it to Willian, who immediately gives it back to them. Why do we go through these periods where suddenly our technical security and our composure leaves us, especially when we're seemingly... we're handing an impetus to teams that are dead. Burnley were dead. Olympiacos were dead. I hate referring to mentality because it's a guessing game whenever you do that, but it's hard not to look at this team and say there is a mental fragility to it where we just can't handle success.
Yeah, it's technical details really, and on the Saka one, there was a few things wrong there with the way he approached the ball. Everything, a lot of football is what you do before you get the ball, and funny enough, El Neni did a great example of showing what you do. Exactly the same pass. El Neni dances around the ball, shakes his body to the left-hand side, to our left-back area, and punches it back to Gabriel off the first touch. That's what we got. The work was done before the ball arrives. What Xhaka and Ceballos did, and let's not mess about here, Leno has a part to play, particularly with Ceballos' one. What they've done is they've not worked appropriately before the balls come to allow themselves to do it off one touch. They both come onto it square. They haven't checked their shoulders. They haven't seen their angles. And they put themselves in a situation where they're needing more than one touch. You have more than one touch in the T-shaped, so it's almost like a T-shaped exit, up the T, left or right. Everyone knows what you're trying to do. You've got to do it in one touch. You've got to do it quick. Pace of the pass helps. It really informs you what to do. And then you flip it. They both didn't do that, and they're both not that great once they have two touches. Right? They're not quick, can't recover, job done.
Yeah.
Leno badly at fault because, for me, he's taken the option to dump it onto somebody else, and it's not even in his goal. The risk versus reward, right, is the risk of me passing there, potentially losing it, and I'm not even standing in my net. And that's a poor decision from him. But even so, once you've done it, there's technical deficiencies on the player side as well. So when I look at us, when I look at us sometimes, I just think we make bad decisions on the pitch. We don't move quickly enough. We don't move a level of urgency. We don't do pre-prep, I call it. We don't prepare ourselves right. We don't prepare ourselves right with options. Sometimes when you give someone the ball, you've got to know their next pass. Otherwise, you're just passing on responsibility and not helping them. Right? So I think we do that sometimes, particularly with our defenders. They do that a fair bit. Luiz does it on occasion. Saka does it on occasion. Bellerin does it on occasion. He changes his mind. He goes against what he originally was going to do. He hasn't got the technical ability to then get out of the problem. We do this a lot. It's not bad intention. I'm afraid it's player quality. But good players get out of things. It's as simple as that. Good players get out of issues that they've either created themselves or teammates have created for them. That's the problem, I'm afraid. And the players that we know and love, we're now thinking about in yesteryear, they were big problem solvers, weren't they? Not problem creators.
Yeah.
And we're creating our own problems at the moment. And it's draining, Elliot. I mean, we do the Instant Reaction podcast, and one of our listeners, Eddie, said to me today, he said, hey, man, it's 20 minutes in, I feel depressed. He's won. And I thought, yeah, he's right. He's absolutely right. But that's just us absolutely traumatized how this team is draining us.
It's in context, Clive. If the Wolves game hadn't happened and the Burnley game hadn't happened, right? And the Burnley first game hadn't happened, and all of these games where we conspire, the Benfica tie just before where we were in a pretty dominant position and give it away. I mean, Ceballos with the header back that gives them a goal. Like, sure, if one of them happens, maybe you're not so focused on it. But when they continue to happen, and in this game, we had 3 times where we tried to give it to them. So yeah, I mean, at 1-1, the best chance of the game falls to Olympiacos. And so the 3-1 feels great, but it's an El Neni worldie, which of course you expect if he's on the pitch. So that, to be fair, that's like a tap-in. And it's a Gabriel header of the gods from nothing. I mean, this is one of the ironies of football is we've been this dominant XG force lately, but in this game, our 3 goals combined are less than like 0.2 XG. So, we rode our luck a little bit in this game. Having said that, we did have dominant periods. I think the interesting thing, you talk about quality, Clive, and look, you can say whatever you want about Thomas Partey, but I've seen Granit Xhaka kick the ball into our own net, and I've seen Dani Ceballos give the ball away for easy goals. I have not seen Thomas Partey do that because technically he's just a little more secure. He can wriggle out of danger, and he has that vision and that awareness and that ability. And I'm not saying he's getting everything right, but yeah, I do think it still comes down to quality. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think sometimes because we know players like Partey and Pepe have got high quality levels, when they fall below it, we sort of notice. But when other players, say Willian, for example, who's a pretty steady player, when he gets close to his norm, he gets rewarded. And I think
you're saying by Arteta. So in other words, if Willian puts in a 7 out of 10, which is his ceiling, he gets a reward for it. And when Pepe drops to a 7 out of 10, he gets dropped.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's just take Saka and Partey, for example. So sometimes when people are assessing players, they look at what they've done, the ball leaving their boots. And then I looked at numbers today, and I don't always look at numbers, but I did my FB ref thing today, and I see the amount of presses that Saka made. So even when he's having a poor execution game, he's still working really hard for the team. Right up there, right? So as you want to know how good Partey was, and maybe there was a couple of occasions when he got caught on the ball. He got caught on the ball while he's trying to move away from people. So that tells me he's not fit. Once he steps you're done. So the fact he's getting caught means that's a fitness issue for me, not a Partey issue. But the moment he comes off, there's this big hole in the middle of the pitch, isn't there? Massive hole in the middle of the pitch. There's no control. There's no central pivot. So just by him being there, we have structure. We have someone to play to. We have someone that makes us feel comfortable in our shoes and comfortable and assured within our team structure. I'm a big believer that within a team, you have psychological pillars that make other people comfortable. I think Xhaka is one of them, and I think Partey is another, right? So, and the moment that pillar went, you have somebody else come on who's different, who's not a pillar. He's somebody that likes to have touches. Now, Ceballos was on the pitch for 36 minutes. I think he had a similar amount of touches to Partey had in 54 minutes. He's somebody that wants it. But because he wants it so much, he goes to get it. Mm-hmm. And when he goes to get it, he leaves the back door open. Right? And people are coming in his kitchen and taking his TV out. Like, literally. And so he needs to think about it.
I got to stop you. Well, I mean, he's rich, so maybe. But, does he have a TV in his kitchen?
People have TVs.
Would they come into his living room and take his TV?
They have these
I know that's not your central point, but it really sticks in my craw. Anyway, go ahead.
And in a lot of UK homes now, what you have these little islands in your kitchen. You have a little orangery at the back, and you have your TV in your kitchen. That's the heart of the home now, right? And then you have a little snug off to the side. That's what a lot of people are doing, right? So
I live under a bridge and take money from people when they cross it, so I wouldn't know.
And so that's how he plays. So I've seen this for a while. So when Tobias plays centre mid, when we sort of liked him in centre mid towards lockdown, post-lockdown, when he was really on top form, he was doing that at the back three. So it's okay for him to fly around because you had a back four diamond with Saka there. So Ceballos was doing the old Ramsey thing more laterally, or Ramsey was a bit more vertical. But he was floating from side to side, getting on it and punching it. And we wanted him to do that because Saka was the structure guy. We have a little diamond shape behind him. Do what you like, son. When you come on in the back four, you're one of two in front. Stand still. Stand still. It's a bad substitution, really. The substitution should have been El Neni. He's happy standing in that slot. He's happy being a release valve for everybody else. You almost need somebody who doesn't really want to go searching for food. Stand still, mate. It'll come to you. Be there for when they need you. And I do think that was a miss. And we got hold of this game the moment El Neni and Pepe came on, and we flipped Ceballos forward. And when I saw him doing the same moves he was doing deep, I was incredibly encouraged because he's doing them high up. And I want somebody to do stuff there because it might just come off. And he has the technical arrogance to make it come off. So I'm not saying he's a 10, but he definitely can share that role with people. And for me, he's a third midfielder when it really counts. And if you are going to box him up in midfield, it's to replace Xhaka, not to replace Partey. Stick him on the left where he's got mates around him that can keep him in their own little pod on that side.
Yeah. Well, I want to get to the day Arteta had and the substitutions and sort of lack thereof as well. Just a quick point, though. You talk about going to FBref and looking at the stats. It's interesting how quality becomes important and having the critical involvements is important in the sense that, like, Odegaard, for me, was a player who at many times during the game seemed out of sync with his teammates. And yet you look at the game he has, and he has 10 shot creating actions. No one else on the team had more than 4, which was Saka, by the way. He scores a goal, a sensational goal, obviously. He has 58 carries, but 19 progressive carries, which led the team. 4 dribbles attempted, 4 dribbles successful. Tied for the lead with the team along with Hector Bellerin, who I think also had a good game. Deserves a little credit in a tough season that he's had. So, yeah, for me, that's one of those things, right? You need that player who can have that influence at the key moments. Odegaard also took 4 shots. If you want to be critical of Thomas Partey for anything, by the way, Clive, you and I did a scouting report on the guy. We watched the video. He's got a thunderbolt that he can hit, but my goodness, his shooting boots have not been on right yet since he's been at Arsenal. Another one he blasts into Rosette. Let's do this. I think we can take a quick break to talk about something maybe not as Arsenal related, and then after that we'll talk about the subs. We'll talk about what it means for the tie, and of course we'll do a little preview of the derby because that is obviously hugely important on everyone's mind today. But I think sometimes you just need to take a little break. Do you guys do spring break in the UK? Do you have that?
Not really, no. So
like in the US, in March, the schools have what they call like a spring break. The grade schools, the universities, things like that. And it has kind of become culturally kind of a party time. Not like Thomas Party, but sort of like a go to the beach, go somewhere warm with your friends, you consume some alcohol, not underage. Of course, we wouldn't have that. And just kind of a party time. And so, we call it spring break, and it is, it's a rite of passage in a way. Most of us listening to this may be a little too old for that, but it doesn't mean that Manscaped can't give you a spring break gift, a spring break surprise, a spring break benefit. And that is what I'm here to tell you about, my friends. Because as you know, Manscaped, we're a huge fan of them here at the pod. Huge fan. I use it. I am going to Florida to see my parents. Going to sit by the pool. And I'm going to look great in my Speedo. I am. I might even go with the thong Speedo. Because I'm just all cleaned up. And you should be too. Because pretty soon, the vaccines are rolling out. The weather's getting warmer. More and more and more of our body is going to be on display, thankfully. And I want it to be as clean and beautiful as possible. So there's a new promotion here. It is the Perfect Package 3.0. I think there might be a double entendre there, but I'm not going to dig into it. The Perfect Package kit comes with the Lawnmower 3.0, the perfect waterproof cordless body trimmer, which, as you know, as I'm sure Clive is aware as well, has the advanced skin-safe technology. So it won't tug or pull or nick or bite. Unless you like that, no kink shaming on this podcast. It also comes with a whole bunch of cleansers and tonics and things for your downstairs area, as well as a gift bag, like a travel bag. They call it the Shed travel bag. It's $40 value, but it's the the stuff you put all your toiletries in and stuff. Those are nice to have. And it comes with the Manscaped boxers, which I wear. They are super duper comfortable. They're actually great for working out too, because they don't really chafe. They just have a nice, I'm not going to get into what they have a nice, but they're good for exercise. Let's leave it there. Point is, you get all of that, plus 20% off, plus free shipping when you use the promo code ArsenalVision at manscaped.com. Manscaped.com, promo code ArsenalVision, 20% off and free shipping. You get a bag for your toiletries. You get some products for your bag, if you know what I mean. You get the Lawnmower 3.0, and you get the boxers. Come on, that's pretty good. And they write some ad copy for me to say, and I never say it because, when have I ever followed directions? But I do think it's funny. Did you ever see the movie The Anchorman? I do kind of like Anchorman. And they say, even Veronica Corningstone wouldn't say no to this pants party. Because as you know, there's a character, Brick, who goes up to Veronica in the movie and says, do you want to come to the pants party? And she says, Brick, are you inviting me to a party in your pants? And he says, yes. She says, no, Brick, I would not like to go to the party in your pants. But even Veronica Corningstone would not say no to this pants party, is the ad copy that I am meant to read. In any event, 20% off, promo code ArsenalVision, free shipping. Go to manscaped.com. Do it now. Manscaped.com, promo code ArsenalVision, and get the perfect package 3.0 kit. Do it. Do it. Celebrate spring. Come on. Put on your Speedo. Put on your thong. You're going to love it. Clive, is that enough?
God, yes, that's plenty. That's absolutely plenty.
Are you sure? Are you sure it's enough? You seem sure.
I don't want you to purge my brain and my football things in my head. So let's get back to it, shall we?
Well, we can shave them off. All right, enough of that. Let's get on to the substitutions. So the Ceballos for Party 1, I have to admit, was confusing, and obviously didn't work out quite right. But the game drifted. If I have a criticism of this game, it's the same one as the Burnley game, Clive. A period after their goal where they had more of the opportunity, we looked nervy, and it just drifted. And admittedly, I leaned into the belief when I saw El Neni was going to be the first sub that he has decided what we have, we hold, tighten it up, keep possession, and just get the 1-1. It didn't work out that way, although I don't think even Mikel Arteta would say I brought Mohamed El Neni on to score a golazo. But before we get to why El Neni, because in having watched this a little bit again, now I see what it was done for, which is to push Ceballos further up the pitch, out of that facility, out of that deeper role, and it worked. But why so long? Why did we let it drift so long? 82nd minute for that next substitution. Is that a problem for you?
It's a problem that he didn't recognise. Again, we come back to Ceballos, who had a bad time against Benfica in that stadium, and very quickly he's given another opportunity in a critical moment in the European tie, and he's naturally going to want to impress. Know your players. It's very important you know your players. He's naturally going to want to impress, and when he wants to impress, he's going to dance around, right? So he saw that. So rather than subbing, he brought on El Neni, and people are thinking, El Neni, what's he going to do? Well, El Neni is going to do exactly what he always does. Sometimes he can be not very progressive. Sometimes he can be. You never can tell when. As soon as you get on the El Neni train, he starts to go backwards all the time. You think, crikey, why did I bother? Then on another day, he gives you exactly what's required. So to me, it was a bad substitution on the day. And I do feel sometimes, I've always felt this from the start with him, it's always about 5 or 10 minutes a little bit later than it should be. I mean, Pepe's jumped on the plane, done all train sessions for, 11 minutes or something, or 11 touches? Mm-hmm. 11 touches, cheers, mate, thanks a lot. I think he deserves more than that. I think he deserves more time. And I think, when I look at the team sometimes, Elliot, and I don't know if I'm going to get this description right, but I feel we lack a level of assurance and real belief in our quality. And so the players we have playing in these spots, you just look at them. Gabriel now's grown from his performance last night. David Luiz, he's on the way out. Right? He's collecting cash. He's on the way out. He's trying to offer some leadership. Right? Bellerin is in and out. I'm not sure of his future. Tin is solid. Look at midfield too. One's searching for fitness. One has to play every minute because we haven't got the quality. Right? So then you go to the double tens. Willian, where is he in his life? Is he offering the assurance and quality and certainty? Odegaard, again, he's in a bit of a project to repair him, to get him back to those levels. We're just starting to see him.
And he's not our player.
He's not our player. We got a 19-year-old superstar kid developing that we've overplayed a little bit, and we're trying to look after. And we got our superstar captain in the autumn of his career, but still delivering. Right? So that assurance, that glue, that player was really meant to be party, but we're nursing him. But we need more. We need more off the left, and we need more quality and man strength in the 10. Right? So I look at this group, and when you're making substitutions, am I bringing on that assurance that we really believe in ourselves? No, we're bringing on goodish players that produce some of the time within a game, not for long periods, in 15-minute chunks. And that's why we get so exasperated when we see the Burnley game, the Wolves game, the Benfica game, when we're in charge and we don't maximise it, because we know in our hearts it's not going to last. It's not going to last. And that drives the anxiety in how we assess the performances. We get overcritical when we miss chances because we know we're going to dip. And that's down to our fitness levels, our intensity levels, our quality in the lead, being comfortable, being at the head of the race. What do you do then? Do you wait for the next problem or do you push on? Can you push on? And the way you can do that is by executing, by keeping the same pace of pass, doing the same runs, the same movements, and you keep doing it, you keep holding each other to standard. When they break, you take them out. You don't, no momentum with sloppy passes. That's what we do. We sloppy passes. They create momentum. They push us back. And those feelings we got when we were even beating Leeds 4-1 at home, we were a little bit worried when they scored and went to 4-2. Come on, we were all petrified. Why is that? Because it's deep-rooted in the team. That ability to derail is right there. And this is a big coaching challenge. And this is why some of these buys, Willian buy, the Louise buying, the Lichtsteiner buy, the Socrates buying, all these buys are to try to fix this culture issue on the pitch. But I feel, there's a bit of me that says, you know what, is that working? Or do we need to trust our talent?
Yeah, I think the latter.
And trust our talent, trust the younger players, trust them. They will learn by going through the experiences that we're going through anyway.
Well, because also, Clive, there's a reward for that. There's a reward for doing it because, like, trusting Willian, even if it works, where does it get you? He's 32. It doesn't get you anywhere. You're not going to sell him on for a profit. He's not going to take you to the promised land. Like, if you trust your younger talent, if you build for
your talent.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
No, sorry, man. I should have cut you up then. Trust your talent because, so what? Willian's there to give us a bit of continuity. So what? But he's taken millions out of the club. Then what? Then what? Trust your talent. Trust them. They will develop that mentality. They will. I don't think the experienced players that we've used to try to bridge this squad to the next level, I don't think I've done enough. In some cases, they've added to the trauma. I think I understand the thought process around the project. You top and tail it. I understand it. You need to have a certain level of player at the top end to make sure that we don't fall through the bottom end, and we can create a floor for this team. Well, the floor for this team at the moment is 10th. We've been 13th, 14th at some point.
That's the basement then. If the floor is 10th, 13th's the basement.
And so I understand why they did it. I really do. But I don't think some of those experienced players have really carried their weight this year. And they do need to, because we're now stopping other younger players. And I'm not sure the benefit is being realised. I really don't. I'm not sure at all.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I mean, we talked about this a little on the instant reaction pod, but like, there is this perception, I think, sometimes among coaches that you need these grizzled veterans to carry out your instructions or to be reliable. And I think that's just sort of old thinking about the game. I mean, one of our best, most reliable players is Kieran Tierney. And is he 24, 23? He's just 22. Coming into his prime. And was acquired relatively inexpensively by the standards of his quality. And you look at the player, Bukayo Saka's 19. Aubameyang, okay, fine. He's going to put the ball in the back of the net and he's in his 30s. But, Thomas Partey is 27, right in the heart of his prime. If you look at the back, who have been our best defenders? Gabriel? Holding? So I don't think it's the case that you need these grizzled veterans to to carry out the instructions, you need talent, and you need talent coming into its prime, coming into its best moments. And the other thing is Willian is not going to be better at 33 than he was at 32, and he's not going to be better at 34 than he was at 33. The other advantage of leaning into your talent is Smith Rowe could be much better next season than this season, and even better the season after that. And Pepe, who's just coming into his prime, could be better next season and better the season after that. And Saka certainly will be as well. And that, Tierney can get better. And that's one of the advantages is that you can have organic improvement that doesn't require you having to go into the market. Your players just get better. That's one way you can improve.
I think sometimes when you have the older players, you feel duty bound to play them. You're not going to make these guys jump on a plane and not play them. And so they are your senior players. That's where your money is. That's where your experience is. And as a club, as a coach, you feel as though you must get them in. And it's easier sometimes to drop a kid. No, I'm not seeing a difference. I want to see much more sharing of games. I've got no problems with Willian and Louise playing, for example. But share the games. Share a bit more of the games. Louise is going to play 3 games. Probably going to play against Spurs. I'm not sure he should. Probably going to play against Spurs. We need to share the games a little bit more. Don't make them feel as though they're just going to stroll into this team. They have to work, share the games, make sure we're giving these younger players the minutes they deserve. And to be fair, Arsenal do this quite well. So I'm being a bit journalistic when I say that. But I don't want to see players stopped or 6.5 out of 10 players, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, well said. I think all those points you've made are really good and just a really nice high-level view of where we need to be going as a club. In terms of this game specifically, Clive, I think I was frustrated that Arteta waited as long as he did to change it. I think the game was drifting, and it was there for us to win. Their quality's not that good, and I just felt 1-1. We went out to this team last season having won in Olympiacos. I didn't feel 1-1, especially seeing the scare we got from Benfica, was a result that we should take away from this game happily, given the way we'd played. He makes the changes, and this is where I think TV screwed me from a Twitter standpoint. I was pretty annoyed at the El Neni swap being his first swap after the party one.
I heard.
Yeah. Well, I had a little bit of a shocker. To be fair, I wasn't alone. I don't think there were a lot of people that thought El Neni coming in at 1-1 is the move that's going to break the draw, that's going to break the deadlock. Now, having said that,
I think he was put on to stop us losing the game.
Well, that's my point, though. And it felt very negative to me. But the irony is what TV did not tell us, because they're like, oh, El Neni's getting ready to come on. They didn't tell us that Smith Rowe and Pepe were too. And if I had known it was going to be a triple swap, Pepe, Smith Rowe, and El Neni all coming on, that feels a little more like, all right, let's just keep the shape, freshen it up, get fresh players on, and continue to push at them. And it worked. I mean, we did dominate from that point. Now, the irony is the goals come from a golazo from El Neni, first the sensational Gabriel header, and the golazo from El Neni, neither of which you can plan on. But there was a 4th and a 5th and a 6th in there towards the end if we wanted it. We really had them beat. There was a counterattack we referenced in the instant reaction pod where Smith Rowe breaks out, gives it to Lacazette, and Lacazette conspires to turn it into nothing. A really dreadful counterattack. But he may have waited too long to do it, but do you think the changes did exactly what they were meant to do? It injected just enough freshness at a very tired Olympiacos at the end of the game to swing it? I mean, how do you see that last end period playing out? Because similar to the Burnley game, again, after that flat period, we were dominant at the end, and this time we got the goals.
Yeah. So I think there's Adrian Clark that said something recently about, Arteta's got to develop a gear change in the team. And if you look at the last 2 games, we've really had that. But it's hard to critique apart from the fact we've dropped 2 points at Burnley. But we seem to be adding a gear change in the team. And again, I'm fine with sharing of games. I'm fine with that, as long as it's consistent and fair. We do need to inject things, but I don't want certain people to be just known as impact players, So my feeling is he's always a little bit late on these things, but I don't mind the fact that we seem to have a gear change in the team. I think it's a really important factor. Again, he's got to develop plan B. It's a very general thing to say, we need a plan B, what does that mean? But I do think there needs to be a place where we go when we're under stress. Maybe we change certain people, change certain shapes. We got to develop another game scenario when we're 1-0 down, 1-1, whatever it is. We need to end that last third, that last quarter in a much better way than we have done previously in the season, when a lot of our goals in the last 15, 20 minutes, we don't score very many. So this was a pleasant change. So whether we agree to substitutions or not, it worked. It really worked. We ended that game
Is it fair to say that the Elneny one in particular worked in that? I thought Ceballos was much better in that last 10 minutes when Elneny came on, because the spaces he was able to take up, he could roam around, he could come for the ball and whatnot, but he didn't do it to the detriment of our structure in front of the back four.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you want that gene, that player, that come and give it to me player. You want that higher up. You don't always want it down low, because people do give it to you. They trust you. You're moving for the ball. Great. You must really want it. You've got a plan, have you? Oh, you haven't got a plan. Shit. It's a goal. Right? So that sometimes can happen. It's just knowing your players. I said it before. Just know your players. Ceballos is a bright player. Smith Rowe wants to go and get the ball, have touches. They're attacking mids, really. That's what they are. I suppose there's a little bit of discussion, really. We brought on Smith Rowe for a left-hand role, more an interior role. I was thinking, Martinelli, you've been busting fit. You're ready to play. You haven't played a minute in the last 8 games. It would have been nice to have seen him, if he comes on left-hand side, just to buzz around a little bit as a reward for a player that's trying to get back in, rather than have a player in Smith Rowe who trained once. He didn't look fit to me when he was on the pitch, wasn't moving well. Body doesn't look quite right to me at the moment. I find Martinelli, I'm a little bit gutted I didn't get a few minutes towards the end. That's just my thought.
What's going on with that? I mean, is that an issue?
I think it might be an issue on how they view themselves. I think Arteta may view him as one position, and Martinelli views himself off the left. Arteta might see him as the striker. I think he's off the left. I think he's a forward that comes in. With Kieran Tierney there, his role is defined. He works in and out, and he works up and down. He's got a right foot shot like a rocket. He just needs time on the pitch, really, to define the way he wants to play, so we can see how best to use him. Because right now he's a memory. He's a memory that's fading for us. We forget really, really quickly. I personally don't want him to be a run-around centre forward on his own. I don't think he's quite got the size to do that yet. The way we're playing like a free forward, it might work in some games when we're in charge, but he's a left-sider, mate, coming off the right for me, and I've got no problem with him. He works, and he threatens. He wants 1-2s, he wants ball passes. I've got no issue with him getting minutes. I don't think he'll let anybody down. You just need to tell him where position he needs to be in certain scenarios, and when we've got it, he's got to be freer. And that's it. I hope there's not a problem there.
Yeah.
To be fair, if you look at our injury record, for example, it's really, really good at the moment this season, touch wood. And sometimes we see players pushed out for 2-3 games at a time, and I get worried and frustrated and think, why is he out? But they're all fit. They're all fit for the run-in, so maybe they know more than us.
Yeah, well, look, you hate to harp on a 19-year-old not getting playing time when we just won 3-1 away in Europe, but he's got to play some minutes. I mean, he can't not play. You don't want your 19-year-old potential superstar not getting any minutes. It's not a great situation. But look, at the end of the day, I mean, it is a sensational goal from Gabriel. It is a sensational goal from Elneny. It is a 3-1 win away, and it should be job done. Maybe it lets him start Martinelli Thursday, which I think he should. By the way, I mean, if he doesn't really lean into some opportunities in that game, that would be disappointing. But it's all now set up for the game of the season for us in the league, which, there's going to be a lot of those down the stretch. But it's Tottenham at the Emirates on Sunday. Spurs did beat Dinamo Zagreb 2-0. United, quite hilariously, held 1-1 to Milan. It could have been worse, but VAR'd them out, as VAR is wont to do for them. Look, you could make an argument we're playing Spurs at the worst possible time. They had hit a lull under Mourinho. They were kind of a laughingstock. They brought Bale back in. They brought Dele Alli in, sort of. Harry Kane is back. And, they look like they at least have some semblance of an idea of what they want to do. Our season feels like it hinges on this. And again, it's going to feel like it hinges on this when we play West Ham, and when we play Liverpool, and when we play Chelsea, and when we play Everton. But those aren't derbies, and this is. So what do you expect from this game? And do you have any kind of hopeful expectation of who he'll pick for it?
Yeah, let's do a bit on Spurs first, actually, because they've changed their team slightly in the last few weeks. Doherty seems to be in a right back with Sanchez instead of Dyer at centre back, so they got some speed there. Interesting to see what they do at the right back situation. I've got a funny little feeling they might put Saka there for this game. They know about our speed on that side, but we'll see. Reguilon, everyone seems to like him. I'm not so sure myself, but everyone seems to like him. Ndombele and Højbjerg in centre mid, and a front four diamond of Bale on the right, Song on the left, and Lucas Moura buzzing around like a pressing agent, doing all Harry Kane's water carrying for him, while Harry just says, yeah, give it to me here. Right? So it looks quite a decent team that believes in themselves. There's no, in that front six, there's no 19-year-olds in there. There's no 20-year-olds in there. They're all seasoned dogs, right? They've done their work. And so they're going to feel quite confident and assured. Now, how are we going to play them? What are we going to do? And I think sometimes Spurs, they have a unique talent when they do feel superior that they actually forget to actually play. You know, they really do. And I think for all the times we've lost to them or drawn with them, a lot of those games we've been in charge. You know, we've actually been in charge. And I think it's important that we go out there with a level of control and belief, but not desperation. I felt in the away game, we were so desperate to win. We put our £45 million signing on the pitch in one leg, and everything bred. We're desperate for this. That anxiety, you know, we mentioned it before, we call it status anxiety. That anxiety about holding on to who we are. We must be much cooler. So yeah, don't worry. We can play with you. Be calm. Take the game in phases. Control the story of the game. Don't be so desperate that we end up having to chase the game. Because chasing the game against a Mourinho team is not something you want to do. They're set up for that scenario. What we need to do is start to prick their confidence, their assurance, by playing well. But also playing in a compact way, because they are going to want to break on us. They are very good at transitioning. So we have to have an eye on the back door. We may have to travel a little bit longer, then get in behind it and play from there. But have an eye on the back door. Have a system and a shape of smart offensive distances and cover. So when we have the ball, we're going to need to be quite individualistic in the top end. This is why I feel Pepe should definitely play in this game, because we might not be able to get the 5 and 6 lanes covered. We may need to rely on somebody taking 2 people out. You see what I mean? To make sure we've got the back door covered. So I hope we go into it in that way. I know people listening are thinking, we're desperate to win. I'm desperate to win. We've got to win. We've got to close the gap. That's exactly what they want. That desperation to catch them. That desperation to overcommit. We need people that can stand in their slots, own their space, own their duels, and play from there. And do it in a calm way. I think we've got a good chance, a really good chance.
Central midfield is a problem for us. And Partey was brought in to give us a dominance in a part of the pitch where we've really suffered. He's got to play like that player in one of these big games. And I hope he's fit, and I hope he can come in and do that. I expect it to be a big night for Partey against Olympiacos. They have nothing like his quality. I thought he could just carry the ball through them and facilitate a lot of the things that we wanted to do. I don't think it was a great night for him. He doesn't look like he's fully fit and comfortable, but we need that because, Saka, who's been better and he's done some things well, he is still, you can target him. I think especially in big games where he wants to, his personality, I've said this before, I think his personality is bigger than his talent. And in games where he really leans into his personality, I think sometimes you see bad Saka. I think it's also interesting what he's going to do at center back, because you can make an argument right now that Gabriel, Marie, or Holding all deserve to start over David Luiz, but he seems to prefer David Luiz, and I'm just fearful of having these players who have that mistake in them. Do I see this being a David Luiz hauling down Son from behind, red card, penalty, Kane slots it? I mean, those are the things you worry about with Luiz that you don't worry about as much when you have the other guys out there. So I think
my team.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
I'll give you my team. I'm just thinking about them, and given the fact that people are rested and what I think should happen, really, nothing personal, any players. Obviously, Leno in goal. I don't think we should go into this game with Luiz and Bellerin on the right side channel. I think we're just saying, come in here if we do that. So my personal view is I'd play Cedric right back, and I would play Holding. I'd play Gabriel, because I think we need some speed there just to make sure, particularly with Bale and or Son, they might swap depending, they go where they think the slow dog is. Obviously, Tierney, I would go Partey and Saka in centre mid. I would play the combination on the right hand side with Pepe on the right hand side, and I would then go Odegaard, and I would then go Saka, and then I would go Kane. But if I could see the manager playing Willian, but I would definitely, sorry, not Kane, I mean Aubameyang. I would go Aubameyang. And
You're going to get pelters for that. Just FYI.
No, some people would like that.
Yeah, to be fair.
And that's what I would do. And I would just make sure that we had individualists in the wider areas, because we may not be able to support them like we have done in previous games. And I think that's what I'll do for this game. Again, we've got another game on the Thursday, so it's not a problem. I think we've got West Ham next weekend. So big games, but look after your right-hand slot. I think left-hand slot is always taken care of. Look after your right-hand slot. Make sure you've got relationships there. But make sure you've got individualists that make them a little bit unsettled. And I think, don't also go chase the game. Make them come on to us and see if we can break on them and be aware of the counter press. And I think we've got a good chance, That's what I feel like. I think I don't think their fullbacks are strong. That's the key for me. Defensively, Doherty and Reguilon, they're not strong. They are not strong. Sanchez is a Mustafi. And Alderweireld's getting on now. So we've got to get to those spaces with good early service and then go from there. And I think they're going to be looking to stick their front foot diamond onto us and take the ball off us and slice us. Why wouldn't you after seeing the last 2 or 3 games?
I wonder if maybe now that he's fit and back, that Smith Rowe will start on the left with Odegaard at 10.
Do you think he's fit? I don't think he's fit. I don't think he's fit at all. But I can see that. I can see that. And I think it's a good option, but I don't think he's fit.
Well, I also think,
close.
And I don't know if Arteta thinks this way, but do you want an English academy kid in the derby who understands what it means, who's going to be absolutely at 120% wanting? And maybe sometimes that's a bad thing, right? Sometimes that gets in the way of you just playing your game. It can cut either way, and Arteta will certainly have a better feel for that. But when you can play Saka and you can play Smith Rowe, a 20-year-old, a 19-year-old academy kids against the hated enemy who know what the derby means, what would it mean to them? What would it mean to them to get that chance? Again, it can get in the way of them expressing themselves and playing within themselves, or it can really spur them on to bigger things. I am sort of leaning into my own confirmation bias now that he wants a right footer on the left. So I don't think Pepe will start over there. I think if he takes out Saka for any particular reason, feels he just needs the day off, then I think Pepe will start on the right. But I think it'd be Smith Rowe or Willian again on the left, I'm sorry to say. Unless he does something weird and goes Lacazette up front and Aubameyang back into that left space. We haven't seen it much, thankfully, but I wouldn't rule it out, No,
neither would I. You need your fighters for this game, and Lacazette does quite well against Spurs, so I wouldn't rule it out at all. I think, we saw against Leicester the benefit of the rotation and how much fresher we looked in that game, so it can happen again. We won't like it, but you got to take it, right? So far, so good.
Look, the key to this is how we overcome the Kane penalty from a Spurs dive. As long as we can overcome that, I think we'll be fine. Do you have any inkling of how this one might go? I mean, it is obviously a shame not to have fans. I mean, obviously we get to play the away fixture without fans, so it's only fair, but who cares about fair? I don't have any feel for this one. I think Spurs are not as good as their recent resurgence, but what they have in abundance is quality in the final third, and they don't have to play well to beat you. We saw that in the first game. Kane can score from nothing. Son can do it. Bale can do it. It's just one of those things where this is a game that I think we will have periods of dominance, and unlike Burnley, unlike Olympiacos, unlike Wolves, unlike Villa, we cannot afford to be profligate. We have to turn those little openings into goals because I can't see us keeping a clean sheet with the talent they have.
Yeah, I'm interested if they play Sissoko at the base midfield and Ndombele at the 10, or will they try to get Ndombele and Lucas Moura on the pitch and really go quite attacking? That will tell you what Jose is really feeling. He's gonna want to control the story, right? He's gonna wait for us. The way I would do it, just play a dead game. I do think we're going to win this game.
I'll tell you what, Clive, in the big games, it seems like what Arteta does to really prevent us from conceding, it's the big games where I feel like we do those wide overloads. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to do as much down the center of the pitch because that's where if you lose it, you can get really hurt. And so we do a lot more wide overloads. I think that's another reason why I could see it being Aubameyang and Lacazette, emphasize more the overloads on the left, the overloads on the right with whether it's Bellerin or Cedric with Saka. But I think the wide positions will be much more of how we attack to try to keep ourselves a little more secure if we lose the ball, a little safer.
Yeah, we seem to be developing this, this wide diamond, wide triangle type roles on both sides, and lots of teams do it. Again, data's driving coaching trends. Everyone's doing the same thing at it. Everyone's playing out from the back. Everyone's doing it to try to attract people on to get superiorities higher up the pitch. Everyone's getting triangles in wide area or diamonds in wide areas because you lose it essentially 2 passes later in the back of your net, as we saw last night. So everyone's doing the same things. And what it does come down to is individual player quality and consistency, right? So coaching, structure, positional coaches, very similar. Different philosophies, obviously, but very similar. Create superiorities, overloads. Make sure you're in charge of your space, your zone. And when you get there, make sure you do something with it. If you're not in charge, get people over there to create the same numbers. Get back to some sort of equality on the pitch. If you have a player that can actually win his 2-on-1s, not his 1-on-1s, his 2-on-1s, you leave somebody with 2 people. A lot of time Party plays against 2, and we need that. A player that plays against 2 so someone else can play against 1 who can really sort 1 out. Vieira used to do it, always played against 2, did it on his own. He was 2 players in 1 and managed it. And so you need those players that can do that job, do 2-man's jobs, to create the 1-on-1s for somebody else who can really do damage. And Spurs have got a couple of those, and so have we. And we just need to get them on the pitch and make sure they're in form.
Yeah. One super quick thing before we get out of here. I think an interesting aspect of what we're doing is the way we're pressing now. And that's a new development. And I think it's been a really welcome development. And I've noticed we do it differently when we face a back 3 versus a back 4, obviously. But when we face a back 4, off the ball, when we press, we're in this sort of tilted or asymmetric 4-3-3. Right? So what happens is Aubameyang shifts out to the left, Odegaard steps up into the central space, and Saka stays out on the right to go man for man. And then what happens is Willian, or whoever's playing left wide forward, drops into like a left-sided midfielder role and presses the fullback. And then you have the two center midfielders. And I do wonder also if that's why he's picking Willian, for his understanding of where to be off the ball in that pressure, in that initial phase of pressure, because that becomes a midfield role. It's another reason I could see Smith Rowe taking it, because I don't know if Pepe's as comfortable tactically doing that. Maybe Saka could do it if Pepe plays on the right. But I think it'll be interesting because I hope we press. I think to your point, I don't think Spurs are technically that fantastic back to front. And I certainly think that, if the ball is at Sanchez's feet or if it's at Alderweireld's, that guy at his feet, I think there are chances for us to turn them over and win the ball and create transition opportunities. How nervous are you about that, though? Because by the same token, they could just play long over the press, and their whole game is first ball, right? Win the first ball.
Yeah.
And let Kane score off, or Son score off a knockdown.
I would, to dictate the story, I would definitely make it a pressing game for us. I would do that. And they're going to try to go long. But defenders want long straight balls. That's what they want. They want those. Holding or Luiz, or Gabriel, no problem. Kane is obviously very good at creating free kick opportunities. I don't think we can sit in a low block because they're bigger than us. With Kane, with Bale potentially starting the game, and Son, they're all decent attacking the ball in the air. So I don't think we should low block and try and counter them. I think we should press them in a shape. And the shape you described perfectly. I think we should press them back and unsettle them, but make sure we've got a ring to make sure we understand what we do when they're breaking. If that means we've got to take some fouls, that means we've got to rotate that, and we need to do it. It's very important that we are aware, positioning where they are, so they don't get into their running. If you're getting people into their running, you take them out, there's the yellow card. If you get them early in the duel, it's just sorry, ref, and you hand up and you jog back in. So positionally, we need to be smart. We can't be children here. We have to be really smart. And if we do that, I think we're better on the ball than they are.
I agree with that.
We may not be as efficient in the last third, in the box, shall we say, but we're better on the ball. We're better in more places on the pitch. But they have got the bang shooters up top, right, that don't seem to need many chances to score, whether we need a few more. But let's see how we go, right? We scored 2 goals last night we didn't see coming. And I think I think it's going to lift us. Last night lifted me. It really did. The Gabriel goal was absolutely special. That is a special goal in any Arsenal period in your Arsenal watching life. A goal out of nowhere, a goal where somebody physically just absolutely did something that made your jaw drop and put the ball exactly where they didn't want it to be.
We scored 3 of those, to be fair.
Yeah, we did actually.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the Odegaard goal, you watch Aubameyang's face, he doesn't know he's going to shoot. He's thinking, well, what are you doing? And his son is in the back of the net. And, you look at the technique. We spoke offline today, didn't we? The technique, the locking of the ankle, the contact. It is perfect. And you watch the ball, it's not even spinning. You're thinking, oh, my goodness, that is perfection. And it really was, And El Neni wasn't perfection, but it was nice. You know what I mean? So we scored 3 amazing goals. And it's in the team. I think it might give us a level of confidence. And I think the team, I'm not saying we lack confidence, but I think we lack that elite confidence.
You know what we lack?
We belong here.
We may have had the sense that just everything was against us. Sometimes you feel like no matter what we do, we play well, it still doesn't go away. You look at the Burnley game, and we're dominating them, and to not get 3 points from that, you just got to feel like, what do we have to do? We have 2 penalties given, neither of them stand up. We give them a goal, we don't score from sitter positions, and then here we go again. We're dominating Olympiacos. We don't get the goals we should, and we gift them another one. And to have it go where we get 2 goalzos to win the game and probably win the tie, maybe feels like that hoodoo is lifted. You know what I mean? That things are going to start to turn our way. And sometimes I do think when you feel, what happens in life, you can feel like the world is out to get you, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And maybe we will have a little less of that sensation going into this game. I think we can leave it there. We're going to have an instant reaction, obviously, right at full time on Sunday, which is going to be a wild ride emotionally one way or the other. And then we'll have a full pod on Monday. Everyone will be involved, and I hope you will too. And wherever you are around the world watching it, my goodness, I hope it is a great day, a day for us to all lift a glass or 7 to the Arsenal, and a day that can really kickstart our league season, because it is still all there. Remember, Clive did predict us to finish 4th this season, and he knows his football. Easy, no problem. Clive's on Twitter, Clive BFC. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
My name's Elliot Smith. Block me on Twitter. Yankee Gunner. Give us a 5-star review. Write nasty things about no one. We're done with the nasty things. We're now a positive energy podcast, and that positive energy is going into the result this weekend, which, as you know, is what I'm about to say. We love you, and we will talk to you after Arsenal 10, Spurs 0.